box on the box, rock and sell you a load of Bot Brat for short. So today I'm going to be talking about British crime films. A few that didn't make the cut: Stormy Monday, Robbery, The Criminal. Stormy Monday is quite interesting. It's set in Newcastle. But it's not great, but if you live in the Newcastle area where I do, it's interesting to see Newcastle at that time. Directed by Mike Figgis, 1988. Then a couple of Stanley Baker films. Robbery's got a great car chase in it, and that's got the director Peter Yates the bullet job when they showed Steve McQueen the car chase from it. That was what secured him that job in Hollywood. And The Criminal, and the other choice there was McVicker. I was going to pick as well, but they're both kind of more prison films. McVicker was like, I really wanted to put it in, but I'll have to do a prison one to put that in because I do love it. So my number 10 choice is an obscure film. So basically you've got Get Carlton Villain in 71, and on the back of that in 72, Oliver Reed stars in Sitting Target. So this is directed by Douglas Hickox. It stars Jill St John as well, doing a good English accent, and Ian McShane. It's Douglas Hickox made Theatre of Blood and one of my guilty pleasures, Brannigan. So he's quite a good thick ear, as it were, British director. So this film's got quite a lot of action in it. It's got a really good prison break sequence at the start. It's got like a kind of car chase bit at the end. The actual film poster for this says, "You are looking at an animal." It's got a great picture of Ollie. So yeah, it's very rarely on. I've seen it on TCM once, and a mate lent it to me on video years ago. So it's quite hard to track down, but although it's not the standard of the other films I mentioned, it is, a decent British, crime film, and Ollie's very effective in it. So worth checking out. Sitting Target from 1972. Number 9 choice is the first Newcastle set one. So this is 1961's Payroll. So this stars Michael Craig and Billy Whitelaw, directed by Sidney Hayes. Basically, Michael Craig's character runs a gang. They do a robbery. They kill someone during the robbery. I think it's the bank, something to do with the bank, and he's the husband of Billy Whitelaw's character. And slowly but surely, she kind of goes after the gang and starts investigating herself. If you live in the Newcastle area, it's quite interesting. It's got bits shot down by Whitley Bay, but the residential area. So if you go Whitley Bay along the coastal front, you've got the residential streets going up. It's got interesting shots around Newcastle, travelling over the Tyne Bridge. You see all the old warehousing in Gateshead. It goes up to the Lloyd's Bank is still there in Grey Street in Newcastle. So it's an interesting time capsule from that point of view if you live in the area. Also, it goes down the Newcastle quayside. There's a bar called Lloyd's Bar, and that's actually, that area is an old warehouse there that you use. But it's a good film. It's a good little thriller, good little neo-noir. And Billy Whitelaw's excellent, really good, strong female role, quite interesting. Number 8 choice, this is the film that got Daniel Craig the James Bond gig, in my opinion. It's 2004's Layer Cake. So this was directed by Matthew Vaughn. He was actually Guy Ritchie's producer. So there's Guy Ritchie films, they didn't make the cut because I don't know, I'm just not really into that. So I like Layer Cake. It didn't do well at the time. It had an unusual poster design. I think it was by Jasper Conran. I think kind of missold the film. That kind of needed something more geezerish. But Daniel Craig's really cool in this. He's kind of dressed really cool. He's got his cool squad. He's really good in the scenes with Sienna Miller. And Matthew Vaughn attempted to show some ambition with this. He's a big Michael Mann fan, not film. And there's a great bit with a meet in a warehouse, and he kind of shoots it really well. But he's got good plotting. I remember going to see it, and this not, no word of a lie before, when I saw this film, before we sort of knew Daniel Craig might vaguely be in a running for James Bond, I did think, actually, this guy could be a good James Bond, and it's well worth checking out. Number 7 is the first, real classic. This is a proper classic film of British cinema, and it's 1947's Brighton Rock. So this features Richard Attenborough in the role of Pinky, the young psychopath. It's a key film done by the Bolton brothers, who were a real stalwarts of the British film industry in the 40s, 50s and 60s. There's the bit where I think he pushes an old guy, his landlord, down the stairs or over the banisters. I think he's played by William Hartnell, but I could be wrong. And there's a classic ending with this, that he's made a record with his girlfriend. I won't spoil it. This was actually remade by Roland Joffe with Angela Riseborough and Sam forgotten his second name. He's in the Joy Division film, Sam Riley. It's pretty good. The remake's good. I forget what year that was. That's set in the 1960s in the kind of mod era. But nothing tops this. It's the first great British crime film, really, and one of the classics of its time. My number 6 choice is a real pleasure of mine. It's 1957 Hell Drivers. So this just stars the great Stanley Baker, an actor who's been forgotten about, really. Stanley Baker was a big star in the 1950s and in the 60s in Britain. He sadly died at the age of 49 in 1976, but he was knighted by Harold Wilson, who was a big Labour man. So Baker, he's kind of predates Sean Connery as the kind of his type of style of masculinity and his physical build. But this is great. Basically, he's a guy, he's down on his luck, takes a job at a trucking company run by the corrupt boss played by William Hartnell, Doctor Who, and they basically, they break the rules and do dangerous practices to get shipments from the quarry through quicker. So he looks at that, work exploitation. His nemesis is brilliantly played by Patrick McGoohan, who plays a character called Red, and he's really good. And then Herbert Lom, I think he plays a Polish guy, and then he's treated pretty badly by them, not by Stanley Baker, but there's a lot of racism towards his character. So it's kind of tapping into that thing after the war. There would have been Polish people here before the war would have broken out. They couldn't go back to their country. There could have been shippers, people like that. They end up staying. So it explores that, and I guess with the Patrick McGoohan character as well, he would have travelled over from Ireland looking for work. So this would be ripe for a remake, this film. I would cast it with Jack O'Connell in the Stanley Baker role, Tom Hardy in the Patrick McGoohan role, Tom Wilkinson in the William Hartnell role as the corrupt boss. Not sure about the Herbert Lom role, but this is really good. The chase sequences, truck bits are speeded up. It's really ropey, but it's directed well by Cy Enfield. So he did Zulu with Stanley Baker, and he was actually an expat American director who'd come over to escape the McCarthy witch hunts, I think. This is a great film. It's one of those great little British thrillers. So my number 5 choice, I'm going to cheat on this, and this is unusual. These are TV spin-offs. One of my all-time favourite shows is the Sweeney, and they did 2 film spin-offs in 77 and 78, Sweeney 1 and 2. So we'll just talk about those. The Sweeney's the better one, but what it does, it takes all the gritty elements of the Sweeney, but it puts in swearing and nudity and ups it. And the first film is generally a really good cop thriller, 8 out of 10. It's quite interesting because kind of George Carter, Dennis Waterman kind of turns on Jack at the end. But it's very good. It's got a basic American corruption coming over. Kind of predates Long Good Friday in that respect. I think there's American characters in that. Also, there's a film called Empire State as well, which looks at that. But there's sort of corrupt business dealings and Sweeney investigating it. It's got a couple of hitmen who dress up as cops at one point. It's very violent. Dan Keane plays a role in it and she gets violently murdered. Sweeney 2's kind of not as good, but it's kind of more interesting because it's the first film to tap into the Costa del Crime. So there's a criminal gang doing robberies. What they do, they've got their criminal lair out in Spain with their wives, and they come over to England to do robberies. And the key guy, played by Ken Hutchinson, he of Murphy's Mob and Straw Dogs, has a Purdy shotgun, sawn-off shotgun. That was the first time I'd heard about a Purdy shotgun. But it's even more violent, some bits in this, and there's more swearing, but it's really good. The guy directs is Tom Clegg, and he did McVicker, which nearly made the cut, but that's a prison one. So I've cheated there. I've done a Godfather 1 and 2, but they're worth checking out, these films. Like I said, the Sweeney one, it's one of those few TV spin-offs, like I Like the Lads film, maybe the Porridge one, Dad's Army, where they've done a spin-off from a TV show, and it's actually, a decent film. My number 4 choice, and this will finish the first part, this film's so good. Again, didn't really do great box office at the time, but it's brilliant. So it's Jonathan Glazer's directorial debut, he of Guinness Advert fame, and his 2000 Sexy Beast. never better cast. Ray Winston and Amanda Burton. Amanda Burton, is it? In this, yeah, absolutely brilliant as a couple. He's retired gangster in Spain, and then Ben Kingsley as Don descends in order to try, not try and persuade him, to tell him to come and do a job over in London. What is the joy of this film? It's pretty surreal. It sort of captures the lazy retired Spain lifestyle really well, but it's Ben Kingsley gives a staggering performance. I think it's one of my 10 favourite performances ever given by an actor. He just flips it, everything you expect about Ben Kingsley, and he got an Oscar nomination for this. It's always was better received in America, but he's, the scenes with Ben Kingsley in this are worth the price of admission. I think I didn't see this at the cinema. I think I saw it on video, and it's a real real gem of British cinema. This it's funny, it's scary, and Ian McShane's magnificent. If I gave a solitary fuck, one of the great lines in British cinema. McShane's magnificent. So the three male leads, Amanda Holden, sorry, not Amanda Holden, it is Amanda Burton, sorry, are so good. So that is my number 4 choice. I will cut apart 2 for the top 3. So we've had Sitting Target from 1972 at number 10, Payroll from 1961 at number 9, number 7, the classic 1947 Brighton Rock, 1957 Hell Drivers, Cheating 1977, 1978 2 Sweeney films, and 2000 Sexy Beasts. So I'll see you for part 2. Cheers.